So, welcome everyone to Estrogenius 2022. My name is Melissa Riker. I'm the executive producer of the festival. This festival has been in existence since 2000. It started as a short play festival celebrating the voices of women in the West Village in a small theater called Manhattan Theater Source, and it was started and launched by a woman named Fiona Jones. Now, fast forward 22 years, and what a women's festival needs to be, what a platform for voices that needs to be heard needs to be, has shifted and changed. There are many, many things to do in our world and many ways that we can all stand together. And part of what Estrogenius is now doing is trying to be a platform for the voices that we don't get to hear very often. So that now includes women, non-conforming, non-binary, trans voices. This is something that we've been building towards and acknowledging and knowing. And as we also recognize that there are still more voices out there in our world that need our platform, we are happy to be that space. I thank you for being here with us. Thank you for growing and changing with us in our 22nd year. And I welcome the amazing Molly Kirschner. And I also welcome all of you after the 45 minutes of poetry to engage in a conversation when she's done. Thank you for being here.
Wow! I am so happy to see, well, I can't really see you all right now, but I was peeking through the curtain during the pre-show, and I'm so happy to see so many people that I love and so many people here to share in this moment with me. I want to say a quick thank you to Melissa Riker and to Emily, the wonderful lighting person, and to Eros and the folks at Horse Trade. I love this theater. I love this space. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you all for joining me. All right. So I am going to read some new poems. So this is the first live poetry reading I have given since before the pandemic in 2019. So I haven't had a chance to read these poems to a live audience yet. So I am so happy to be able to do that. And thank you all for being my guinea pigs. All right. Immediately following mandatory happy hour with the boss. I said, deliver me to the nearest beautiful thing. My name is not man. Where clouds rallied together like workers, I said, let me out here. Palm trees dusted the sky, no rain. I called another taxi. I said, take me to a larch, a church, the awe in the word autumn. Take me to dusk, to a Sikh temple where I can meet the genderless God. The casino, behind the curtain, where we pray our children will fix the world before we are reborn. Oh, you guys don't need to clap after a poem. But I will pause just to indicate that there is a new poem. All right. Second sailing. The wind settled down with a house, a wife, a fireplace. You take up the oars, your arms ache. A willow's tendrils just touch the water, like shy maidens dipping their toes. This image keeps you going for weeks. A church bell sounds out the hours. Every day, the current looks more like the cursive writing you can no longer read. You feel your soul rolling up like a flag ashamed of itself. You know where the river ends, it must take the ocean's salt. There's a poem where Neruda likens a woman to bread. At least you have bread. Concentrate and ask again. My heart would be shoe-shaped if sirens lived in the villages, but nighttime that leans on the ailing is endless, and the ships ask a witness of onlookers to sink to their peace. They want to be heard. The preachers with no churches, the Salvation Army bells, voices in the classrooms, the kitchens, the meetings. It's still Lorca's New York. Money doesn't grow on trees. It's made from trees. The bodies of the homeless could easily be corpses. Even the fancy step in piss and liquor, wedge themselves into our eyes, see my penthouse, love my name. But my love doesn't want to be detected or returned. It walks briskly, avoiding mirrors and silver pots, dewdrops and puddles and big lakes. There's a woman in a cafe, shaking a magic 8-ball. I take her picture. It's so easy with these phones to photograph someone without being known. But I can't capture what she asked that piece of plastic. There's an old man I call from a payphone. I tell him my sex is shaped like a heart. He says, "Are you a real person? How old are you?" "The same age as you," I say. Too young to understand death. You really don't have to do that. If you want to, you can. You're welcome to. All right. How you write music. Can you hear the tide's transparent voice coming close? Ships without passengers move slow as caresses. If you could, you'd compose time with all whole notes and rests. Life would feel longer each day, and death would realize it doesn't need us. Feel the yellow cosmos blooming at your feet. Can you love the autumn in your golden larch heart? A crow shows up on the white sky. Do you sense the rain, held in like raucous laughter, till it must be expressed? Rain laughing at thunder. My love, we are lightning. It will never catch up. Thank you. Caesura. The maintenance men, the neighbor's empty place. Night blooming cirrus creeps on the fence. Huge amoebas of time accrue, dust in a hairbrush. The twists in an oak trunk won't untwist. I see what it had to do to get some light. My face can't hold an expression any longer than a feeling lasts. Yet my soul is curved beyond recognition, showing how often redemption came and went. Where it is now, an arm's length away, and how soon again it will rest with me. Reverence/relevance. I don't need you to reciprocate. You heartleaf ice plant, you muscovy duck, you butterfly's wing flapping falsely in the wind. But I need you to know I find you beautiful. My bride's in a tattered dress of cloud. She wears the gibbous moon on a starry ribbon. I have told her how her soft amber eternality excites me, but her endless ears are vacant as oyster shells. As for me, I am made of praise. In a foreign city, he loved me on a balcony, slow as a star lives and dies. I'm now as old as he was then. I have wanted to say thank you for showing me what to look for so I'd recognize it again. January. So this is what it has come to. All those years of schooling, those lessons won by suffering, the underwear of calm I bought and concealed beneath my inexhaustible joy, culminating in each now, such as this one in which I'm chasing a crumb with a broom. There's a carpet under the table where the kids ate lunch and I'm playing Sisyphus to a raisin, in a town where they pave right over the beads in the potholes, where the sun comes on you like an unwanted massage, and in the winter, the fake fireplace in your home is enough to keep you warm. I am starring in this comedy show for which I am the only audience. For some reason, they keep it on the air. As I am laughing to myself, I see through the window that the children are picking me flowers off the trees that bloom in January here, magnolias that would elsewhere be but buds. Again and again, my vase is refilled with dead flowers, beautiful and funny and sad. The divine could hide better if it wanted to. I imagine the ways that this can be explained. The behavior of numbers, quantum entanglement. I'm responding to another me, far off, and she's pushing the borders of her soul farther apart, ever faster. I could get used to this. All right. Surreal Woman, for Lenora Carrington. She is a surrealist painter and writer. Ghosts? I thought you said goats. I remind you of goats, but no. You paint me as a doorway to your unconscious. A hyena in a drawing room, casually stealing children from a family with too many children is how I appear in my self-portrait. That night I am stewing vegetables in a pot you bought that come out as bear cubs and their mothers. You are afraid for your life, mildly irritated, hungry. Let them take me. Let them interpret my madness. Let them tie my hands. I can climax with only my mind. I can conceive a rocking horse child born later as flowering grass. Bloom Blast. Silver-limbed thundercloud like a man's hair, you are the balcony under which I court mystery with songs of love and confusion. June rains are from you, baskets of grapes dropping, squashing themselves to make wine for the roots. Orchids lose their flowers. This is called bloom blast. Too much water, or maybe not enough. Yet these heads regenerate. I thought I couldn't be more monomaniacal. My love letters all began with why. Then the blue morning glory turned purple by afternoon. Seriously, they changed color. These flowers changed color. They were like this dark indigo blue, and then I walked back, and I thought it was like an April Fool's joke or something. I was so confused. But it's true. They're really remarkable. All right. Postcard. I live here, beyond your understanding. It's so much more spacious than inside your small mind. I can put my feet up. If there's a ceiling, it's too high to be seen. There are ships as long as fog itself, and beaches I can't run the length of without gasping for the very air I'm piercing in this mad dash of happiness that is my life. You can liken my laughter to reams of receipts, and you wouldn't be wrong. I don't make jokes. I just point out through mockery ones that already exist. The fastest way out of one endlessness into another. When the brick is missing from the convent wall, when the tears have outlasted the face, when two lizards are fighting for territory on a wooden statue of the Buddha, when the cup of life has no rim or stem, when you've let the mint leaves rot in the heat, when you're dreaming of passion fruit and lose your anger, gently, unintentionally, the way the sun takes the water from your hair before you know it's gone. When an apple tree sapling appears on your lawn, when you think, thank God, finally, a minute alone, and the fragrance of jasmine, like a love-struck stranger, comes at you from behind. We don't. I used to lie on the floor and pray for you. You could have been anywhere. I looked for you all night as if you were a lunatic and I were the cops, my feet chasing my head down the block, the sun shaking its own fetal head. This went on for years until one day I was holding a candle so you could read my poems in a dark bar. Our present is a garden, not ours, yet ours. Plantains are ripening in sweet commas. The hibiscus twists awake. We name the neighborhood cats that already have names. This is our work. We know how this ends. We don't. Last night, I tried on a dress the color of promise. For your having manifested, I see no one to thank but you. Your Nertamid eyes, green apple eyes, full lips about to speak. Mysteries. Outshined by its reflection in a necklace, the sun punishes us with its absence. The water is depthless with fog. It hovers like the unspoken, spiders begging to be women again, Hades placing a basket of grain in his bed when Persephone has gone. The grain doesn't want him either. I am not convinced. The cold feels nothing when it swarms my face, that the afternoon night sees nothing when it forces its way in, that the gods aren't high on prayer, that they won't mourn me when I'm not here to do their grieving. You press me into the sheets. You press me into the sheets like I'm a petal you're preserving in your notebook between two ideas. Leap day. How literally should I take the graffiti on this house? You deserve to be here. If I were to break in, could I cite this writing as invitation? Why do I think so much about getting caught at the scene of crimes I have no desire to commit? A man once sent me out into a parking lot to find fireflies when I was still half mad. The whirlpool led to the sky. It was a carnival with no people. I was an arrow. I am wound or salve, but arrow, never archer. Amor fati. In love with you means you're there. You may not want me, but there are synapses between us. You want me. I can't lock you out of my dreams, so I brew tea for when you arrive. When we are alone, your touch is hot as purpose, my own nerves speaking to me from outside my body. I play the part of a human. You play fate. Beauty. You can come to it in rags, drunk, stinking of cologne. From a house full of roaches and termites, boxes and machines, from emotions that are physical torture. You can come to it crazy. You can lose a bet, almost die, risk your life for a laugh, and still find it. You might arrive at it with a face full of acne, with a meal you cooked for distinguished guests and ruined with too much salt, with grief for the joy you rushed through. It'll take you, with your conscience at capacity, or empty as the vacuums nature abhors. Too long I thought I had to be beautiful, to belong among the things I love most. Leaves glistering as if giggling at a joke told by sunlight, water's delicate skin, yellow daylilies whose color is the only positive thought I need. Come then, with your unpardonable deeds and thoughts, stupid mistakes, falling stocks and hopes. Come with your wasted life. The beauty isn't for you. It doesn't care. Guests. Walking through the Orthodox neighborhood in a tank top and shorts to get to you, past hats, beards, children, flowers, brownstones, women in ankle-length skirts, feeling like a streaker under their hard stares. A guest on their streets, a guest on this earth, a guest in a house overrun with guests. And yet, on personal terms with the sun, so that the slightest twitch of it leaves me shivering or warms me as well as a dog's solid body. Today, on your birthday, as you're sizing up your life, your fate seems tied to the rain, making up for in sound, in touch, what it lacks in color. It's the voice of God for 50 square miles. You ache to speak to it, yet I'm the one here, so you ask me to spend the night, to break the cruel asymmetry. Think of trees moving mere inches at a time towards the sunlight, which covers hundreds of thousands of miles over one of your deep breaths. Rendezvous. Such cold, wet hair this rain, and every tree a useless brush. Mold grows on my love letters the instant they're written. I don't know where you live, so I send them to you everywhere. Meet me this evening when crows open their wings. You will see a blowfish where the moon should be, and the trees will be me, throwing up my hands. Temporal. The white ash knows the emerald ash borer will be here within 7 years. It does not run for the hills, draft its will. It does not care to be remembered. It simply stands and fruits as October 15th demands. The lilac bush gives no hint as to what it once was. But if you're willing to wait, it might. And if not, change the shape of your clock. Maybe you've wasted your time. You bought expensive opera tickets, put on your best dress, and watched only the conductor's hands. You couldn't hear the lyrics because you kept thinking how a flute makes a man a soprano, a double bass makes an alto a bass. Open treasure trove. Privacy's a luxury, I see. Lovers on a bed of stuffed trash bags on the street. Looking at me swan, tacked on to a stop sign. So many people, hearts crisp as worms and apples, who let me love them in passing. Once a man asked if he could photograph me riding on the bus. Only now I remember he has me somewhere in a stack of shots among bountiful French Quarter balconies overlooking beer-soaked streets. Or maybe I'm art on the wall. Or maybe I'm dirty pleasure. Jupiter. 1. The way something random, like something ingested, becomes part of who you are. A mollusk's old home in a child's hand. The blue and orange bird of paradise flower, not planned, just pretty. A strand of your hair, like a trail of starlight on the floor. 2. If Jupiter were denser, it would have been a star. An egg wins the lottery, a sperm cell wins the race. A person is born who could have been, yes, there is loss. 3. Long hours with my brain and the melting ice caps of my patience. This is what's in front of me. A strand of your hair like a trail of starlight in my palm. I think we can tell which of these were written in the pandemic. Cleaner. They hired me to sweep the sky. I arrived in uniform, dustpan in hand, but my hand soon tired and the broom dropped. They transferred me to a different apartment on the ground floor. They instructed me to clear out the homeless and the crazy. I showed up with pieces of paper, bold-faced type, but they told the best stories and I spent the night. They finally moved me to the water. There was an aging mermaid dressed in asphodels, nothing else. We were married in the morning. She would soon remember nothing. I'd remember nothing else. Second chance. You drove out your feelings with wooden clubs and your will. They're back. It's been so long, you don't know which one of them is driving your car to the edge of town where the Silver River waits. You sleep beside it on a bed of sand. Your nightmares have been intercepted on their way to you by a web of stars and sent to someone less lovely. This other dreamer dreams he's God, sitting through a concert of badly played flutes and out-of-tune hymns, which ends only when the next performance begins. What do you have to show for your loveliness? You were beautiful for a minute in the light when it sliced you like a gemstone. Now it's dark, and you must go while you cannot be seen. You can't cross the water on your feet. You will have to lie down. Petition for the reversal of entropy. The neighbor is pruning the tree. It seems cruel, though the limb is already dead, weighed down by its own plantains. Shameless voyeur, the orchid peers through the kitchen window. There is a glass of wine in my hand, begging to be changed into grapes. I could punch the moon's thin smile till Venus appears as the chip of its tooth. I could blind the cycloptic storms when they start up in June. It isn't funny. Order reverts to disorder at a pace that would bore you. It's only funny when the victims laugh. Out the bedroom window, crepe myrtles strike into bloom like champagne, shaken and uncorked. One-way ticket to where I already am. When a deer eats a leaf, the leaf becomes a piece of the deer. When a black hole eats light, the light becomes the black hole's stomach, hungering for light. A woman turns into the man she loves, to desire herself in his language. In my room, there's a candle burnt low like a shrunken old man still crying about the flame. As always, the rain is a teardrop crystal chandelier breaking for the last time. As always, I accuse the world of beauty and take it to court. As plaintiff, witness, and defendant. Your gift. The glass cracks at a wedding and shards fly, spilling joy. Envelopes tear so letters can find hands. The egg yields to the robin. Thus will you enter this world as joy spilt intentionally, not with cold feet or a face. The past is throwing you out of its house and the round road back is gaping. Here is your map. When the old man can't say much, you will sit with him. When the moth gets your sweater, it will be your gift to him. When you find your wife of many years sleeping in the grass, her hip like a wave that forgot to fall, love will rise in you like a tree, growing tall and thick, as you finally decide to settle down and be home to a family of birds. Dehumanization. Rock, paper, scissors, reason beats emotion, but emotion beats no capacity for emotion. Does it matter if the Chinese weeping willow truly weeps? Can it be just as alive as you or I without feeling? Goldfish see in ultraviolet, infrared. What else? What other colors and emotions can't we sense? The mountain laurel taunts, did you make me out of paper? The pomegranate cannot tell me what it means. The apple has no memory of Eden. The expressionist. Dying leaves, plastic bones hanging from widowed branches. A slow dance in honeycrisp air. So easy to miss. Kumquats, roses, gingers, blooming now. The golden rain tree setting free its pink seed pods. Look at me. I put that there. I am the loneliness of the sleepless. I make the night long and the rain tap dance. I make water out of your sorrow. Sweeten it with salt. I go Pollock with fall. The way mourners bring food to a shiva. I bring dishes of beauty. I bring down the last summer butterfly. But it makes me happy. The smell of decapitated grass. These silly daisies balanced like plates on waiters' forearms. One day, when I was working the worst job, a bird pooped on my supervisor's head. My coworker's cigarette set his backpack on fire. I was giddy that whole shift, even selling crap to people who had better things to do than hear my stupid pitch. Now the tide is lined with driftwood. Talons of fog reach over the shoreline to prey on whoever has fallen asleep. I am stretching my body with a flame's ease, so free I am frightening. You are trying to forget how beautiful I am. Trump loyal. I'm talking about the artistic device, not the oxymoron. The paint cracked in the humidity. We took the painting down. The image of water enmeshed in its own reflection is now a raised relief map, all mountains and faults. Leaves' shadows dance in a flat bed of light up against our window, like the soul of a still alive loved one who lives far. We draw the shades but the sun slips in, the way a closed eye still sees. Beyond the orange lines and the green of your eyes, the hard angles of your face, and the way, in full passion, you become a statue come to life. There is the heat of your skin like a fever descending, the softness of that skin, your earthen strength. Earthshine. 2 weeks imprisoned in chrysalis, for 2 weeks more on wing. New butterflies get drunk on fermented sap. Here in New Orleans, wind rips the flowers off crepe myrtle trees. We replace them with beads. Branches play silent piano, jazz. We dance and drink in the street. Halloween. Instead of candy, I leave asphodels for ghosts to bring to their old bones. The children don't understand. I put out some maple syrup. I say nothing about them being the future. But in the heavens, there's a cradle of sunlit moon, rocking a circle of darkness, bigger than it is. I asked for this music stand. I really should use it. All right. Detached. Like an eighth note slipped between the bars of its measure, a shard of field stuck on someone's sneaker, a moth caught between window and screen, beating faster than the hearts of runners and lovers for any old desk lamp. I am a piece of a missing puzzle, dollar unspent in the pocket of your pants, and I fade with those jeans in the wash. But I could make someone desperate a cup of soup richer, and if you knew you were desperate, you'd see me. Free will can't help you now. A man takes love like bread too soon from the oven. It gets him across the desert, but perhaps the desert ends in hell. I said at a dinner party, I wish I could steer your life like a car for maybe a year. I entertain myself using a formula to calculate the size of Earth's orbit, which I cannot and will never be able to change. Instead of the news, I read about particle-antiparticle pairs, how they are supposed to unite and annihilate each other, but sometimes one falls into a black hole and the other escapes. Hurricanes keep coming. They have names, as if there were someone I could speak to. An old friend calls after 7 years' silence to say nothing of any substance. I dream I can travel out of my body into wildflowers. Some great good fortune. Some great good fortune is coming your way. whether you would have it or not. Love hovers outside you like thieves around a bank. And you have soundproofed yourself, and your locks work well. But I have invented a happiness for you, like the kind that makes a fanatic. Every logic dies somewhere. We cannot know when others are thinking of us, dreaming of us, and what isn't said can't help. And sometimes when we speak, we are met with silence. And sometimes when we speak, the heart forgets the parameters of the present and tries to climb a mountain in a photograph, or bury a body in a painting's fertile fields, or else devote itself to a supreme being that rose from the dead, that rose like the dead from a story. And sometimes the devotion is mutual. What takes my breath away? You are the voice that speaks to me in the language of light. I'm a window you run me through to illuminate someone's messy living room. I'm a bud, you are the voice that tells me it's time. I'm a lissom blossom, you are silken wind. Stay close to me, says that rose, then dies, and the wind still is. What takes my breath away puts it back in me. The sun bows low, and you bend me like I'm time. The way I love you, death will be deja vu. Tourism. Kids are drawing the sign of Satan on my watch. My mom calls Jesus the dead guy. I've got Nietzsche on the wall with the window in profile, so he's always looking past the window. Yet I search with the assurance of a snowflake seeking its identical twin. Finding no cause, I worship symptoms. October's russet combs, rain on green, the taste of dark honey. I'm an annoying tourist on earth, camera never at rest. I'm counting on seeing these pictures later, somewhere else. Orion. Orion left his belt outside my house. In the summer, he is far from my mind, like snowdrops, harp seals, wars on foreign soil. He hunts beasts that run from him, returns to me, his confessor, to whisper what he killed in the name of my safety and interpret my silence. Furies. You were born next to the spring, but no one ever told you you were thirsty. Its clarity, its blue music yearned for your lips. How many were the nights they found you sleeping on the grand piano, your bed bereft, while you, guilty for your riches, suffered on top of that silence? You are not exempt from the daily task of wringing your heart out in the sink. America begs to be wept from your eyes. You may not remember your dreams, but I have seen Alecto there, her flame gold face more axe than tree. If you don't drink this cup of wine, no one will. Self-knowledge. Each of us hangs by a thread. Those threads form a harp, expecting to be played. Now and then there's a sound, and we think we felt a hand. UFOs. It's conspiracy theory night at Cafe Lunacy. And tonight's topic is UFOs. Governments hiding aliens and their luggage, whole spaceships. I'm sitting next to the Bitcoin ATM. There are 2 men on chairs, 3 on the Reiki table left behind by the previous group. The stars don't look right, someone says. Another, it's extraterrestrials. They've been underground since Plato. The government pays them to stay there. That's where our tax dollars go. We nod. They because they believe, and I because I don't do well at parties, and it's easier to agree. To be a star among stars, a grain of sand in an hourglass that takes 7 generations to run out. I'm not this strange by choice, really, and neither are these men. If only it were simple to say yes to the world, however warped, however banal. I feel the summons of the night through the window. I hear the snickering of stars. The things you see when you live in New Orleans, I'm telling you. Numbering lovers. Your head tilted like the earth on its axis. We are the Americas, estranged Siamese twins. We share a drink at the bar that was once a confessional. No matter what you say about central nervous systems, I cannot break open these oysters. I cannot count 4 oceans out of a blue mass that once was wine. You are stuck on the end of my sword-shaped soul. I'm a tree, and you are 55 bald eagles I can hold. Only peonies express how I feel. Pandemic in New Orleans. A cat is lying on the porch in the sun like a fossil in amber. My porch, the neighbor's cat. I can hear the engine of memory pause years into the future when I remember the curl of its tail, circling its body like a loving arm. I know this image will return to me, the way my mother knew she would marry my father when she saw him outside a classroom looking shabby, pants falling down. The way she prophesied me one afternoon with him in the snow when he got her lost and they found bear tracks. In the dream, the baby sneaks out of its mother's house and crosses the night into my arms. The same sun that fossilized the cat now paints the bodies of trees onto the faces of houses of worship, in shadow, the most temporary ink. It's no trouble for those trees to pose for decades on end, not even for the tortuous oaks expressing many gestures at once. The virus keeps us home with the strictness of the rule that dictates 1 body per soul. Some things are as they were, the trespassing cat, the man who preaches to no one, the colorful cottages where angels raise Isaacs. Except now the schools are closed, so they do it alone. I was a teacher. I have made a terrible mistake. An elderly beggar on the corner looked into my eyes and asked me for change. I stopped and nodded. These are such hard times, I said. Then I handed him $2, forgetting that I had been feeling unwell. Lord, may my error not have killed him. Sweet, not clean. The 18-month-old reaches for speech, finds the word moon, points to its picture in the book. The real moon has risen over the bridge, which could be a cradle, except for the 2 depressed men trying to talk each other out of jumping. Full moon, do not back so humbly out of this room. Linger in the truth of what you cause. Make my life sweet, not clean. Prayer with no altar. In the garden of roses, your hands are full of reasons. You have felt awe and thanked your cultivation, your long education. The bee in the zinnia sees. Those tenors singing under lovers' windows are ripping off the birds. Awareness of beauty is at least as old as beauty. Oak trees and oceans old. No more reasons. I know you have roses. And if this isn't the life you want, even stones can be engraved. Though impossible, bumblebees fly. It can happen at any time. The heart's pouring out like so many improbable bottles of wine. The slow infusion of memory, your feeling for the world before you got involved. Astronomical. 1. Invoke Venus as a planet where it rains sulfur, or as a woman on a seashell in a painting where flowers inexplicably fall into sea. Name her as something specific, existing outside of us on her own terms, real the way photons are real. Lucky us, we can read them as color. Lift the wedding veil between worlds, so your mind is in my body and in yours also. A worm eats through its apple's diameter. 2. So few stars in the city, but sunsets, yes. In the one spot where the sky is wide, the golf course, where huge stone signs warn us against death by flying golf ball. The light shifts as fast as a child grows up. Birds sound like computers. Veins climb your arms like vines, and a hummingbird the color of the Mediterranean Sea keeps coming back to the firecracker flowers. Where's the second page of this poem? There it is. Okay. Someone steal the second page of my poem? It was you. All right. Once a group of children taught me how to suck the nectar from those flowers. 4. We plan our escape from heat, from hurricane, northward, to a place where we can be a flock of two, shepherded by so many stars. When a planet is close enough to orbit a star, the star moves too, in response to the planet's negligible gravity. Let me be your telescope, and likewise through you, come closer to our fellow whirling dervishes, moons, Jupiter's tattooed storm, all subject to the same tyrannical laws. And the mountains will be huge to our undressed eyes. Where we have been used to flatness, we will slowly rise. Exposition Boulevard. I want to be a bridge because I love the shape of arches. Even the sky forms a doorway with the earth it is nailed to. Just a little further, there's a place where conceits fall like autumn leaves into tomorrow. There's a stash of happiness that grows where only strawberries were planted. Waiting for the fruit to ripen is the first bite, the sweetest. You will be called an artful reimagining of the constellation Aquila, the eagle, because your body does the work of wings, the work of loving desire itself. You can follow these poems to this place. When you soften your understanding, then beauty appears as a riddle. A few desultory details followed by, who am I? The Book of Life. We understand the world made by kisses, or things like kisses, happenings, Carlo Rovelli. Whatever happens to win by the river is happening now. The heart's usual slog interrupted and made crazy. It took me all night to write a text message agreeing to meet you, and there was a bird working up the courage to take a female to the museum of his plumage. The you of you, the me of me. When the book of life was stolen, opened, they found no names, only deeds. No one to be punished or praised. No one to do the punishing or praising. In that absence, I met you in the park. Thank you all so much. How wonderful to be able to see you. So I just wanted to open this up for a short talk back. If anyone has any questions or remarks. You in the back.
Hi, Molly.
Hi. Who are you? I can't see you.
Sarah Burry.
Sarah. I love you, Sarah. Thanks for coming.
I love you too. I'm happy to be here. It's good that you ended on the note that you did because I was going to ask you about absence in your work. You know, gaps, and sort of like how do you reconcile, I don't know, let's call it the void, and then also like words and poetry, description.
That's such an excellent question. I think that the genesis of poetry is twofold. So on the one hand, it can come from direct stimulation, and then on the other hand, it can come from the sharpening of senses that happens in those lulls when it becomes ever more pressing for the sake of sanity, right? To find inspiration. In other words, when it doesn't come to me, I have to go to it. So I find that in times of, like, for example, in lulls, times like the pandemic, or, you know, even in moments when I'm like particularly tired or uninspired, I have to look a little harder, but it sharpens my senses, kind of like when you lose one sense, the others become keener. Yeah, that's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, this was a lovely poetry.
Thank you, Madeline.
I really enjoyed myself, and it felt nice to be able to just sit here and listen to the words. I wanted to ask, you were talking just now about where poetry comes from, but can you give us what your definition is of poetry, your current definition?
My current definition of poetry, God. I think the essence of poetry is the distillation of experience. To a greater degree than other art forms, I think poetry is the most distilled form of art. I think that's the best definition I can give. It's the distillation of experience. Because when you're writing a poem as opposed to a play or a story, you need to keep only the most essential. There's no room for a superfluous word or syllable. So I think poetry is also it's like snapshots of life. It's as opposed to film, it's snapshots. So, yeah, I would say that the best definition I could give is the distillation of experience into language.
That's an excellent
Thank you, I'm glad you approve.
As the appearance witness in the poetry itself. Proof is in the pudding. That's a great definition.
Yes.
Hey Molly.
Hi, Nick. I'm glad you're here.
Oh, it's so cool to see you perform. I've read a lot of your poems and I've never actually seen you perform it, so that's awesome. And it was such a great performer.
Thank you so much. I think you came to one reading in Queens.
That was like a.
That was different.
Yeah,
That was someone's living room.
Yeah, sounds like a. But I'm just curious if there was any like pattern to the order that you read the poems.
Yeah, so there is. So these poems basically constitute the newest manuscript that I have, which is called Sweeten It with Salt, which comes from the poem The Estrogenius. And some of these new poems, for those of you who are on my poetry email blog, you'll recognize some of these new poems that I plan to incorporate into the manuscript.
So they're all from this manuscript.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have any other work from before?
No.
Okay, I thought it was different. My bad. Sorry.
You missed the speech about you all being guinea pigs.
I missed that speech.
Yeah. Yes, Natalie.
When does the book come out and where can I get it?
As soon as I can find a reputable publisher.
Okay, great.
A wonderful performance. I love your poetry.
Thank you, Sean.
I was wondering, I've never thought to ask you this, like, outside of this context, but like, what is your process? Like, how do you make these connections? Because like, the snapshots of life, like, I can see, and I've had weird moments that like, you like this with you, but like, then like, you go to these cosmic things, and you go into like, these nature themes, and like, is it like, stream of consciousness connections, or are you?
This is the best book. This is my favorite question. So I think that my best poems write themselves. I carry a notebook with me at all times because, well, for two reasons. One, because if I notice something, I can write it down immediately. And the other reason is that conversely, it encourages me to look for things, which just enhances my experience of being alive. It keeps my senses awake. And so I just walk around with this notebook, you know, spy on people and animals and trees. I collect images, and then somehow the images work themselves together. And like, I think that when my poems are most successful, I have very little to do with that process. But I enjoy it. I enjoy discovering those connections. Yes, Sarah.
Molly, my question for you is, do you have any lines that you're particularly proud of throughout your poems? Any that kind of stick out to you where after time passes and you look at them and then you're like, wow, I got that. Very nice. Some of those, I was wondering what yours might be.
Yeah. Oh, favorite lines.
Or phrases.
I like, as for me, I am made of praise. I like the way that sounds just coming out of nowhere. I like money doesn't grow on trees, it's made from trees, because that thought has occurred to me so many times. You know, like, why do we? What else? Other favorite lines. Let me see. Yeah. I think in Prayer with No Altar, there awareness of beauty is at least as old as beauty, oak trees and oceans old. I like that a lot. Yeah, and then some of the images from The Fastest Way Out of One Endlessness into Another. When the tears have outlasted the face, when the cup of life has no rim or stem. I like the way those sound and signify. Any other questions?
There's a couple.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I can't see. Yes.
I'm just wondering if you're aware of the first poem you ever wrote. Do you remember it, or a moment where you knew that you had written a poem?
Yeah, I was 7 years old. I had a book of poems, and there were poems. There were just a couple things in there, but I do remember writing the lines. Angels are spinning around in my heart while I sit here thinking of you, about someone who had a family friend who had recently passed away. Yes.
I just want to thank you so much for all of the outpouring of gorgeous words and connections and images and sharing them so beautifully with us. It was just really a wonderful experience to sit here and just listen to all of your exquisite thoughts. It was just really beautiful. Thank you.
Mary, thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. It's such a joy. Throughout the pandemic, I had really been missing the feeling of reading to a group of people. The Zoom readings are really not the same thing. They're so the disembodied squares, and I don't want to be a disembodied square. I want to be a person. Right? It's much better this way. So I really appreciate your coming today.
We have one more question.
Yes, of course.
It's Jessica Karen. I I'm so excited that's one of your poetry readings.
So happy you're here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Is there a way? Is there a reason that the poems were ordered the way they are? Did they or?
That's a great question. So I think in sequencing, and I didn't do the sequencing alone. I had some help from this wonderful man in the front, and from also someone else. And I think that I tried to. I had some consecutive poems that had similar themes and resonances, but then also I wanted to vary the tone, right? So, rather than have one section with all my humorous poems and then another section with all my serious, death and God poems, I wanted to intersperse them for a tonal variety that mimics the tonal variety of life.
Molly, it's Lynn.
Lynn!
It was really nice listening to your voice poem. So what I feel like, because I'm from Vietnam, it's Vietnamese, so the way that we have poem in Vietnamese, some other languages like Korean, Chinese, it's more like very short. We have rules like 4/7. Some people enjoy creating poems with making this rhyming the sounds or rhythm. So what part of writing poem or creating a poem that you enjoys the most? Like just writing a thought or like making the sound rhyming together? What part?
Yeah, great question. So just from a sonic perspective, I really do enjoy assonance, which is not as vulgar as it sounds. The repetition of vowel sounds I really like. I also really like, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot, as I've been starting to study Italian and also having studied Spanish a little bit, But like, for example, in Italian, you don't have, monosyllabic verbs. You have, 2 and 3 syllable verbs. I really like that in English, based on the varied etymologies of the words, you've got long, fluid words, and you've got these short, monosyllabic verbs as well. So I really like playing with line length and with having more languid, fluid phrases punctuated with more abrupt phrases. I think that's one of the cool features of English.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you so much.
Amazing to have you. Thank you all for being here. That was incredible. I'm so glad that I got to share that with you. And thank you. The festival continues through April 2nd. So please feel free to come back. There will be, there's a lot more dance that will be happening on this stage, dance and performance art and clowning. So please come back. Dance is kind of another version of poetry. It's a wonderful way to hear these things. If you enjoyed yourself and you'd like to support the festival, we would greatly appreciate that. If you enjoyed yourself and you'd like to support the festival and sport an awesome hat, we have some hats for sale and our Venmo is right over here. Have a wonderful afternoon.
You all have plans or do you plan to play a walk there?
Yeah, I think there's some things to do.